Hello everyone, welcome back to What is This Weapon? With me, Jonathan Ferguson. We've got here another kind of mystery thing, so don't feel bad if you weren't able to identify this. There might have been bits of it that made you think of certain weapons, and I'm sure you're correct in that. But overall, this is a one-off, wacky British experimental thing, the sort of thing you've come to expect and hopefully love from this series. So, what is it? Well, it does have a name. Let me show you what it proclaims itself to be. And I can decipher some, but not all of this. So, starting at the top, we have Solely Armament Limited. You can see that. Now, Solely Armament, or Solely Arms, you sometimes see, they do crop up in British firearms history. We have a couple of designs of theirs. They did work on bayonets. I won't spoil too much because I might show you something else of theirs in future. They were essentially arms dealers and I guess designers. British, based in London, as the next line says, London, 1938. So that gives us our time frame. You might have guessed 1930s based on some of the features. Which I'll explain in a moment if you haven't. And so there's more research needs to be done into Solely Armament. Company and a colleague here is looking at them. So hopefully we'll find out a bit more. We might even find out what the next line means, which is WOMG03. Feel free to talk amongst yourselves in the comments as to what on earth that means. The answer is probably in an old bit of paper somewhere in an archive, possibly even ours. But until I have time to go digging, and I'm not even sure where I would go digging, I don't know what that means. So feel free to speculate. Both wrong and right answers accepted. So the next bit does make sense insofar as it's caliber 9mm or cal 9mm. There are some more than one 9mm caliber, we know that. So we'll come back to that in a moment when we look at the inspiration for this thing. And the final line is Model 2. So this is the Solely Arms Model 2. You'd be tempted, I suspect, to call this a bullpup. And it nearly is. But having had to come up with a working technical definition of what a bullpup actually is for my British Bullpups book, Thornycroft to SA80, it isn't. This is as much a bullpup as an Uzi is. So the breech face, we've got this ring cocking handle here. It's really quite stiff from old grease, and the lack of a buttstock makes it a little bit hard. But the breech face, you can just about see where that stops. And although some people define a bullpup as the trigger being in front of the breech face, or you base it on the magazine or whatever, what we came up with for this definition that doesn't mean you accidentally call all the handguns in the world bullpups, for example, or Uzis or Ingrams or things like that, is having sort of more than 50% of the grasping area, so in this case a pistol grip, in front of the breech face. So it doesn't matter if that's like a rifle stock wrist or a pistol grip, or in this case happens to have the magazine in it. This is not substantially forward. The vast majority of this grip is behind the breech face. It's close. You could call it a quasi-bullpup or a pseudo-bullpup if you like. So that's my reasoning as to why this is not included in my book. Now, could have used it as a sort of example of a test case. I think we used the Viper for that instead, the Viper submachine gun. Nonetheless, it's super short. So they have relocated trigger and grip from roughly back here, well, roughly where it's sort of still simulated on the butt, funnily enough, from here all the way forward by about a foot. So it's very foreshortened. It's almost a bullpup. So now that's out of the way. What else is weird about this? Well, I mean, the whole thing's pretty weird, isn't it? We've got no sort of covering around the grip so we can see the magazine sides. I imagine that would have been fixed in future prototypes. I think we have to assume that this is a prototype. There's no magazine catch, although there is space for one to be fitted here that would presumably have engaged in the back of this magazine. So there's nothing actually physically holding the magazine in other than a substantial amount of friction. So I can try to remove this. See, it's pretty well wedged in there. Not a good fit, but it is, the magazine housing is, well, sort of skeletal, but it's shaped to fit this magazine with a lug on the rear there and a lug on the front with a loading tab that allows you to pull down the follower for loading. A bit like a Luger magazine, but on the front. Now, there is an analogue to this magazine, as there is for the part of this gun, which we're coming to. I know I'm bad for teasing stuff, but this is supposed to be a mystery. The buttstock is, or lack of, well, it does have a buttstock. So if it was a bullpup, it'd be a bullpup with a buttstock, like the VHS. The modern Croatian VHS has an additional little buttstock added to it. Most bullpups are buttless, which was the term used by the British instead of bullpup, funnily enough. So it's another skeletal feature, quite substantial though. It's not sort of just steel wire, it's forged steel. And then you have these weird butt straps. So you'll have seen on some machine guns that there's a top one to stop the gun slipping out of your shoulder, so you can just rest it on your shoulder. And so that's a somewhat useful feature. So that is, I mean, not very useful on a submachine gun or self-loading carbine. And then we have a bottom one as well. No idea why. But on the face of it, it sort of locks it into your shoulder like this. Maybe the idea was like the British Viper, that you could use it one-handed, freeing up your other hand for grenades or whatever you want to use it for. But this thing's quite hefty. Not ideal, and not a great sort of, just awful ergonomics basically by any modern sort of standard. You can't easily get your eye behind this. Well, you can get your eye behind the front sight, but your cheek is off this not buttstock. Not helped, of course, by missing a front sight, but yeah, we get the idea. And we have this adjustable tangent sight on the rear with an SMG style open aperture. It's a bit wobbly on the back, and then a slider, and this is marked for up to 500 yards, because this is made in London, made in Britain, which is a significant angle, as you might imagine. And then we have features that are not so unusual if you know what this is based upon. So I'll stop sort of teasing you on that and show you the immediate inspiration for this, which is the Beretta model 1918/30 carbine. And magazine well here with, we won't go into detail on this type because you'll be able to find information on that elsewhere. Not least, there's an article online by Freddie Clifford, contact of ours, check that out. Covers both the Beretta 1918 weapons. So it does have a sliding dust cover. I'm just pointing that out because it takes this type of magazine, or this pattern of magazine. I don't have a 1918/30 magazine to compare, so I can't be 100% sure if this is literally just a Beretta mag or if this is a British copy of that mag. But you can sort of see how the magazine catch would work on the Solely arms, because it's the same design. A dimple with a catch operating within it that's missing on our piece, but it's just a lever. So you'd reach underneath, push forward with your thumb, and pull out the magazine. And a nice dust cover to close it up, because we can see right away we've got our ring cocking handle on the back. The bolt is the same design. You'll notice our Beretta is missing its extractor, but the bolt assembly is the same. The receiver is identical, tubular, with a knurled ring for disassembly. It's not quite identical, actually. There are slight differences. The more I look at it, the more I see slight differences. So it's possible this was fabricated from scratch by Solely Arms, or for Solely Arms by someone else, to the general pattern of the 1918/30. Quite an intriguing piece. something we need to do more work on, but as is often the case on this series, we'd like to show it to you when we've reached a point where we think that's helpful. We can even see that it has the tang. Under this ring cocking handle is a tongue-shaped tang, if that makes any sense at all, which is replicated on both. So same basic design for the receiver and the bolts, and the cocking handle, and the magazine. The barrel's different though. It's longer and, I believe, partly heavier at least, or even substantially heavier. Nothing like research on the fly, is there? So longer, heavier barrel on the British, not quite bullpup, than its parent design, as it were. Now, I talked about 9mm earlier. Well, the 9mm load for the Beretta was a sort of weird. It was the 9mm Glicenti cartridge case loaded to the velocity of the German 9mm Parabellum. So having gone off and done their own 9mm cartridge, they're then trying to make it match the power level of the German one. And I have to assume that the British gun runs the same ammunition, which might cause problems if you try to run something else in it. So another feature borrowed, taken from the Italian gun, is this folding bayonet. Very typical of the Italian style, and the specific design is that of the Beretta 1918/30. The catch is a slightly different shape, but nothing significant. For all I know, there are versions of this that have the same exact design. And it's pull the catch, flip the bayonet, and then the catch locks backward into place. So I can't help wondering if this weird butt strap setup isn't some sort of, who knows? It doesn't make that much sense for shooting. It probably makes even less sense for bayoneting, but nonetheless. Bullpups or compact firearms with bayonets, better than nothing. I mean, the Sten, very compact firearm, that was issued with a bayonet as standard. It's quite short. Can't say, we know Soliarms made bayonets, but I can't really say if that's their copy of the Italian or if they've just... I would say there's enough difference here in profile of the blade, of the catch, even of the block, the more I look at it, and the finish on this to say this is almost certainly made by Soli themselves, copied off this design. You might have spotted this catch here, which is the same as this catch here. This is a bolt release, so the bolt will lock open when you pull it back if it's empty, and you just push that catch and it slams forward. That's the same on both, but again, the form of it is different enough that I think this has been scratch made by the Brits. So that's about the size of it, really. This is an abbreviated British derivative of the Italian Beretta 1918/30 carbine. They're both self-loading carbines, incidentally, not submachine guns, although it'd be easy enough to make them submachine guns if you wanted to. Kind of a mystery. Hopefully we'll find out more about Soli armament as we go. We do know that there was both US congressional and UK government inquiries, into Soli arms activities in the 1920s, 30s period. So there's probably some interesting corporate history there, maybe some other history that we've yet to uncover, and perhaps in the process of doing that research we will find out what on earth the purpose of this was beyond the clear intent of trying to make an already compact pistol caliber carbine into a very compact pistol caliber carbine. Thanks so much for watching, guys. We really appreciate that. If you'd like to come and visit us at one of our 3 sites, please do. We always appreciate physical visitors as well as digital. And you can check out our various social media channels, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Also, keep an eye on our website, and the socials as well, because we have a joust coming up, one of our big events that we're known for here at the Armouries. They're always a good time. Either way, however you engage with us, we'd like to see you again next time.